What age were you when this photo was taken?
I think 12.
The reason you were in this river is because they didn't want foam showing up on camera. Because, Bill, please illuminate. What was the project that you were working on?
Well, it was a movie called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Once we were spacemen. I tend to play weird people, usually aliens and robots and things that don't have romance.
I once didn't get a job where they were looking for a Nathan Fillion type. Once we were spacemen.
Once we were spacemen.
Alan, would you do the honors to get us rolling?
Oh, God! Yes! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of Once We Were Spacemen! Because one time we were spacemen, space, the final frontier. And during the frontier times, people went without. They ate their horses. They ate one another. With Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion.
I tuned out for a second there, and when I came back, we were eating horses. How did that...
Well, smallpox obviously came about. I didn't really hit on that too hard, but we got to eat something.
Now, any listener out there may not know Bill Rowe, but...
I know Bill Rowe. He does the thing with all the odd jobs.
That's Mike Rowe.
Ah.
Yeah. That's no relation.
Bill's brother, Mike.
Different Rowe. This is Rowe sans the W. But the older the listener is, the more they're going to realize how heavy-handed Bill has been in the zeitgeist of their pop culture revelations. They're growing up. So
we're pretty old, so we're going to love this shit.
We're going to have a field day. So, Bill, before you got here, first of all, welcome. Thank you for doing this, Bill.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Before you got here, Bill, this morning, bright and early, I sent everyone a photo, everyone in Once We Were Spacemen team and Alan as well, a photo of a young man in hip waders wading through what must be the most polluted waterway I've ever seen with some sort of strange kind of background in a 70s style photo. And I think you know exactly the photo I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. I do.
What age were you when this photo was taken?
I think 12, 11 or 12.
You were employed in what country?
Munich, Germany.
You were in Munich, Germany.
Bavaria Studios.
What year?
Yeah, what year was that?
Probably.
We can certainly we can look this up. We have a computer that does this for us.
A computer. What year was that?
1970.
The reason you were in this river is because they didn't want foam showing up on camera. Because, Bill, please illuminate. What was the project that you were working on?
Well, it was a movie called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh!
The original.
Classic.
An 11-year-old Bill Rowe in hip waders in the chocolate river of Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, scooping out the foam. A job for Oompa Loompas, if I'm not mistaken.
And you were saying that they're pretty useless.
It was one of those jobs. I mean, literally, we lived in an apartment. And it was like 20 minutes. So I would leave the apartment, 11, 12 years old, walk down the street, jump on a trolley by myself. Trolley would drop me off at the studio in Bavaria Studios, and I would walk through, wave to the guard, and go to work every day.
Wow.
At 12 years old.
In a river of chocolate.
Because you had a connection to this production. Bill, tell us what the connection was. Why were you there?
You found a golden ticket.
My dad was the first AD. So we all went there, the whole family, and we spent about 8 months there. It was a huge movie, and at the time I missed a whole year of school.
Did you get held back because of that?
And then when we came back at the school, my mom was talking to the principal and everything, and the principal goes, "Oh, he learned more there than he would have heard here, so just continue going."
Wow. Every kid's dream. Skip school to go to the chocolate factory for a year.
So just a quick overview. It started about there. In through your life, you started working in the entertainment industry. You were a camera assistant. You were a cinematographer. You were a director of photography. Then director, which is then where you and I met. This is why you're here today, because our paths finally crossed at some point. Now let's go back in time.
Yeah, thank you, because Nathan, who gives a shit? He was in the chocolate factory. He was with Gene Wilder.
Name drop. I'm just trying to give
with the
some
Oompa
context as
Loompas.
for why Bill is here.
Because we're lucky bastards. That's
It's-
why he's
it's
here.
absolutely true. Now, Bill, was this a situation where you were saying, Dad, you've got to get me into this chocolate factory? Or were you saying, Dad, I don't want your life. I don't want to do this for a What was the situation? How did you?
I don't think I said anything. We just worked. I mean, my brother was 2 years younger than me. He's actually has lines in the movie, and we're both in the movie at certain times. My brother was the stand-in for Peter Ostrom.
The kid.
Yeah, the kid. And so my brother was a stand-in. So he hung out with that whole cast because they were all much younger than me. They were pretty young. They were like 10s and 9s. And he still keeps in touch with them. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, that's so nice.
Really?
I know. We were all part of that whole group. And I worked, so basically I worked for the special effects department. So we
Well,
would,
wait, what lines did your brother have just in case?
it's in the beginning of the movie when they're in the classroom and he says, the odds of whatever it is, 1,500, whatever that line is. Cute little blonde kid says it.
How cool.
Now-
You're saying he hooked up with Veruca Salt, and that's such a young age.
Yeah, I think it was Veruca.
I'm kidding. I kid.
Now, Alan, you kind of touched on it. Bill, you actually have in your possession an original golden ticket.
Oh, wow.
I do.
And I hear stories about this, about the size of the safe it's kept in and who has a golden ticket left and what condition they're in and people like offering to buy it and wanting to. That's a piece of Americana film history that, I mean, that's a short list of people who have an original golden ticket.
They just sold one recently.
How much did
How
it go
much?
for?
Couple $100,000.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But I also have, which is like really interesting, is I have the original slate from the movie.
Even cooler.
Chalk slate, yeah. And we have Wonka bars and we have, a bunch of couple things and original screenplays. We have like a whole group. So,
I'm sorry, you have Wonka bars from back in the day?
well, they were just, plastic ones. That they
Oh, I
used,
see. Good,
but-
good, good.
yeah.
Okay.
No, they're not real chocolate. No.
Just dust and
They never make it under the lights.
Just roaches.
So now I'm just thinking, Bill, in my short 30-year span in this industry, I witnessed the technological advances that have happened. If you're talking about chalk slates,
Mm-hmm.
they're digital now. You must have witnessed many technological improvement over the. How many years have you been doing this now, Bill? Since you were 11.
Oh, 60.
Oh, was that all?
wow. So did Augusta Gloop get caught in a tube? Like, did he really? I mean, I've heard stories. I know we're moving on, but I just want to know. I heard it's possibly just an urban legend. He actually had to sit in there for hours.
No, he didn't sit for hours, but he did get stuck. He did
get stuck.
Yeah.
Like per the script, or after they said cut, he was like,
Or like, how are we going to get this kid out of there?
I remember, you know what he used to do? It was really cool. You know the trap door, the egg thing when the girl.
Yes. Yeah.
So I had to test that. So I was the guinea pig at doing a trap door. That is the strangest feeling ever.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I did all that stuff. It was fun.
I bet.
Did you bum any cigarettes off of the Oompa Loompas? I feel like they might have been a corrupting force.
I don't know that. My brother was still with Rusty. He's he did a whole bunch of stuff like that. Rusty something in it. And my brother kept in touch with him. I think he passed recently.
Now, I've heard origin stories of people saying, "Oh, I loved movies so much, and I wanted to be in there, and I jumped the fence to go get." But this was a fact of your life. This is your dad packed a lunch every day and went to work on a set, and so this was just kind of a normalcy for you. Is that how you glided into the industry?
Yeah, I think I just growing up in it. I mean, listen, my dad, when we were kids, like every summer we went somewhere. So my dad did Paint Your Wagon, right? The huge musical up in Oregon. And this was crazy. I flew into my first Lear jet with Alan J. Lerner, the composer.
No way.
at a Van Nuys airport, flew up to Bend, Oregon. I mean, just crazy stuff. I used to fly to work in a helicopter. You know, the bubble ones, the little two-seaters?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
mash copters, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the death
my
traps.
dad would be in the back with the director, Josh Logan, and they would say, okay, come on, kid. And they throw me in and I'd sit on the bubble, on the glass,
Oh, no way.
and fly to work.
I don't know
It was
that that's
crazy.
I don't know that that's FAA approved seating.
Eh.
Wow.
We need them for
Yeah.
ballast. Right at the tip. Otherwise, we're going to flow backwards. Now, at the time, were you saying, "Oh my God, this is insane what I'm doing," or at the time was it just old hat?
You know, you kind of fit in. The crews are always kind of cool to kids when they come working, especially if you're on location, you see them all the time. So I always wanted to be a grip because when you're a kid, you know, you build things, right? So they're building crack and you got wedges and you got all these things and you're hauling stuff and you're cutting wood and you're building all these. And so as a kid, it's like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, they're big, strong men running around doing man stuff.
Yeah, and it was like great. And my dad at one point said, "Kid, you're not going to be in a grip. You're going to get in camp."
Oh.
And that's how it happened.
Your dad made
And
you.
it kind of made me, but it was really funny. On Willy Wonka, I got to know the cameraman really well. And I learned some stuff, you know, kind of keeping an eye on watching these things. And then at one point, he wrote me a birthday card and said, "Kid, you're going to be a great cinematographer one day." I'm 12 years old. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
That stuck.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Did that stick? Did that put something in your mind to say, "Well, I'm going to
No.
keep an eye on this if he believes in me"?
I wanted to play football and baseball. I didn't care about this industry.
So it was. I don't want your life, Dad.
No, not really. I think we all knew, all my brothers were all in it. We all knew that it was eventually going to, you know, we would take over.
Were you any good at football and baseball?
I played college football and baseball a little bit. And eventually, you know, I got hurt and all that stuff. And it was like, okay, it's time to go to work.
Oh.
So it wasn't just a pipe dream. You had some legs.
Yeah. And
No, his
so
legs got broken.
pretty much.
Then he got into it.
I think it was the neck. You know, and then I started working. I mean, you want me to go down this road about?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, just real quick before we do. Gene Wilder, did you talk to him at all? Did he mention my name?
Big hero.
Yeah, he said to say hi if I ever met you.
Thank God. That's what I needed. Thank you. I'll stop interrupting now.
So after I was done working, I was still kind of going to school, and I got in somehow at the Warner Brothers loading room, where the old days, you know, you didn't load film. You took the mags after shooting and put it into the studio loading room, and everybody kind of went through that loading room.
Like the mailroom of film work.
Correct. And you would put you put your magazines that you shot, you put it by the door, and the teamster would come get them, take them over, and then give you 2 new ones. And that's how they kept track of all these movies we did. And that's how it worked. And so when I started working there for free, and I would go to school in the morning, and I'd get there at 12 o'clock, and I worked till like 8 or 10, and then I would go home. And you did it for trying to get in the door to become a camera assistant.
So it's like an internship, OG internship.
Correct. So I was doing this for pretty much a year. And then the guy that ran the department wasn't a very nice man. And he said, "Kid, go back to school. We don't need you here." After a year of working free there.
Oh, what a...
Correct. And then my dad eventually, about a year or so later, my dad did a movie called Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band.
Wow. Right? Alan, you're in for a handful of these.
Man.
Oh my God, yeah. And so it was Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees, all that stuff.
Name drop.
And one of the ways to get into union is if you worked for that company. So I was working for RSO Records. They were producing the movie.
Uh-huh.
And I worked for them. And so eventually when the RSO became signatory with the IA, I was grandfathered in as a camera.
Oh.
So that's how I
So
got
your
in.
grandfather got you into the business. I see. I
Kind of.
see.
First your father,
Kind
then your grandpa. Gotcha.
The crazy part was my dad, they paid me for 30 days being a camera guy, right? You have to get 30 days. It was 30 straight days to get in the union. And then
Okay.
I was part of that company. And then when we got transitioned over to the IA, now they had to take me because I had my 30 days. So when the movie started, I had to pay back that 30 days. I'm like,
Wow. I feel like the
Hollywood.
beginning of your career is wrought with labor law violations, 11-year-olds in rivers and working for free
Helicopters.
and
Yeah.
getting paid and slipping in and then paying the
Yep.
money, giving the money back. Sounds like a rough start.
It turned out okay.
Oh yeah, sure. It all
But
ended
he's
up
young,
okay.
so it's
at the time. Were you a starving student? Were you just
Uh-huh.
eking by and
Just eking by, trying to do. And then there's a whole other, I can go into other stuff where I got in trouble with the union. Because in those days, it was group 3s, group 2s, and group 1s. So basically, all the group 1s had to be working before the group 2s can work. And all the group 2s had to be working before the group 3. Well, you get in and you're a group 3. So hopefully it's busy. And of course, I went on this big movie called Legend of the Lone Ranger.
This is great. Before you get to that, was John Lennon always high? Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. You mentioned the Bee Gees, you mentioned Frampton, but weren't the Beatles? I mean, the Beatles had to be around somewhere.
No, never saw.
ooh,
Never saw.
Really? So they were what were the Bee Gees and Frampton? They were the producing team there, or they were Frampton did all the animation?
I think, what's the guy's name? Roger Stigwood, that owned RSO Records. He was
Uh-huh.
the guy.
He was the guy who was around. And the Beatles were off growing their hair and
So
singing on
group-
the roofs.
Group
Okay.
1, Group 2, Group 3. You were a Group 3. Did you slide in somewhere you weren't supposed to be in the group?
Yep. So I was doing this movie in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I literally got pulled into the office. And I knew the cameraman, I knew the director since I was a kid, and the union they fired me, and I had to go home, and I couldn't work. I still have the letter to this day sending me home, and I just bought a condo. It was like crazy,
Oh,
and I
shoot.
couldn't work for a year.
This is a much rougher start than I've ever known about, Bill. I've known about some of your beginning stories, but the hardships here, the hiccups, this is fascinating because, clearly not a smooth journey.
What
in the
what
beginning.
caused the firing again? It was
Because I was a group 3.
Then who would hire you if you were a Group 3? You what did you lie on your resume and put Group 1 in
No,
there? or
I
did you-
think the camera guys who hired me just didn't even care. And then they just figured I was going to be out of the state and nobody's going to care. And then eventually it caught
and then
up.
the number cop came along and was like, "Where's your number, mister? And get out of here." And he was
That's
kind
it.
enough to write you a letter to keep for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Well, it's hardly
Wow.
on you. I feel like they should have gone for the guy who hired you. It's his fault for not going for Group 1s.
Or just give you make you a group
I
one.
think they all basically knew. They just were trying to get
Yeah. The whole thing smells like Group 2.
that's for the group 1.
This stinks like a number 2. If I've ever smelled one, this is it.
Okay. And now, you eventually, though, you get into Group 1.
Eventually, I think they dropped it a couple of years later. They dropped the whole grouping thing.
You were
So
able
there's
to
no
keep the
group of them.
condo. Now you're at this
Yep.
point you're on camera. You're a camera assistant. When do you start operating?
Oh, gosh. I started operating on a movie called Hot to Trot, talking horse movie. Remember that?
I have a memory of this VHS
what was
video
the
with
year?
like the Blockbuster or something, like seeing this
What was it?
this movie case, the movie box. I have this memory. Now,
I have it here somewhere.
is that somebody who says, "Hey kid, it's your time. Step up." Who's the person that makes that?
This is Bobcat. This is a Bobcat Goldthwait movie
That's right.
with John
Bobcat.
Candy, Dabney
Bobcat.
Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how cool. A lot of great people. Virginia Madsen was in this, Gilbert Godfrey.
Who's the guy who says, "Let's go, leg up. It's your time to come up."
The cinematographer, a guy named Vic Kemper, was really nice. I did like 10 movies with this guy, and he was the one that moved me up from a camera second, like a loader and everything. He moved me up to be a first, and then he moved me up to be an operator.
What
He
is
was a
it that
very
you have
sweet-
to do in front of the cinematographer for someone to say, "Hey, it's your time"? What makes you rise above?
I really don't know. I was never one of these guys that I had these goals. I want to be this. I want to do this. I was never one of those guys that would go to the cameraman and say, "Hey, I want to move up. Can you move me up?" I never did any of that stuff. I think it's being low key and watching you work and how you work and professional, whatever you are. And I think people look at it and say, "Hey, I want to help this guy, or he deserves a move up, or I think he's talented enough to move up."
Do you feel like you were talented? Do you feel like you had an eye for something? Do you feel like you were did a good job?
Yeah, I worked really hard. I took really pride in what I was doing, whether I was a camera assistant, operators, DP or director, whatever. But the most comfortable thing I ever did in my life was operate a camera.
Do you take any responsibility for the 4 out of 10 rating for Hot to Trot? Show us what you can do. Ooh, no getting around that.
I could tell you stories about that would all get us in jail with the horses. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh my
I
God.
hate jail. I hate that place. Let's avoid it.
So when you say the most comfortable, is it because camera operators get to sit down or because you felt like I'm really good at this job?
When I was pretty young when Dick Kemper called me one day and we just finished a commercial. I was a camera assistant and he called me, he goes, hey, in a couple of weeks or about a month, he says, I'm going to do a movie. He goes, which was Hot to Trot. I didn't know it at the time. And he goes, I want to move you up. You want to be an operator? And I'm going, now panic sets in. I have a house. I got kids. I got, to move up is a big move, especially assistant to operator, because you have all this reputation. Now you're the kid on the block. I was 30 years old.
Oh, wow.
Going to be operating movies. And this guy, and I said, he goes, oh, hey, listen, I'm going to be gone for a week. He said, call me in a week. I said, okay. I'll never forget this. I'm in the kitchen with Kathy, and she looks up, and I hang up. She goes, leave. She goes, what is it? And I said, Vic just wants to move me up operator. She goes, yeah. I called him right then and said, yes.
That didn't
Is
occur to
30
me.
young for an operator? Is it for big movies like that?
It was really,
seems like
and then I had a lot of operator friends of mine that weren't happy that I did this because that takes jobs away from them. And I ended up doing all these movies.
The difference between the jobs is like you're not the focus puller. You're not the one making sure you focus. You're loading mags. What is the first camera? I've been on a few sets, but I'm always distracted.
Well, this camera assistant is the one that does the focus, is in charge of the equipment. As an operator, you are in charge of that frame that's being photographed.
All right.
And how to arrange all this. We got to get here, we got to get there, we got to do this, or just, and
it's more
solving
artistic.
all those problems. And I never practiced once, ever. And I just walked up, turned the camera on, and you had the wheels. And that was it. And it was so comfortable.
The wheels are two little spinny, for the people out there. It's two little, they look like two little spinny things.
Little hand
People
cranks.
call them wheels. Little hand cranks.
They're little wheels, and it makes the camera go left, right, up, and down. And you have to do it all simultaneously, all at the same time, without even thinking about it.
One is your x-axis and one is your y-axis, and so one goes up and down, one goes left and right. And in synchronicity, you're panning, you're operating that camera. I've tried it a number of times, much to the camera operator's chagrin. I'm terrible at it.
But I feel like it's like a video game remote control, like, where it's like walking and shooting at the same time is difficult while you're looking around and walking. But this is with spinny wheels, which makes it that much harder.
And then we have to follow you guys around. We don't know if you're going to sit down, stand up.
I'm aimless. You can't even. No one knows.
Yeah. Well, and I'll try to mess you up just to see what happens.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
But this never occurred to me that, because I think about, I get promoted now, I'm cinematographer. You think, I'm at the top now. But when you get promoted to the bottom of the next rung.
Correct. It's hard. It's a big life change. That's why a lot of guys don't move up, because when you come in as operator, it's a whole different ballgame.
You've established yourself. It's almost like entering a new industry suddenly. And now you're at the bottom again, and you have to reestablish yourself. Yeah. I honestly never once considered that. But it's the same in our industry. I had a lot of success in daytime, and then I tried to move to primetime, and now you're at the bottom again. And then from primetime, if you want to go into film, you're at the bottom again. It's all, it seems to be under the same umbrella, but it's all very separated.
It's hard. You have to have, first of all, you have to believe in yourself that you can do this, and nobody's giving you a guarantee that you're going to be successful at it. There's a lot of people that were camera assistants that try to be operators, and it just doesn't work.
I'm going to throw out some credits, Bill, just so that Alan can glean some of the history here.
Can I ask a question with some of these?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton. Alan,
when
you
saw him,
movie?
Yeah. When you saw Michael Keaton, you're like, that guy could play Batman one day.
The Lonely Guy with Steve Martin.
The Lonely Guy. Oh, with Charles Grodin, right?
It's Grodin, not Grobin.
Yes.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Was Groban the same in real life as he was on camera?
Still Grodin.
Sort of that right kind of guy.
So Chuck and I was doing a movie, and I think I did 5 movies with him, and I was an operator.
Oh, cool.
And finally, one day he walks up, he goes, "Are you in my contract?"
Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure.
Oh, did he ever break character?
Correct. Never saw him. Never saw
Oh.
Paul. I mean, he was not Paul, ever.
You never saw Paul. You only saw Pee Wee.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. You only met Pee Wee
You
Herman.
never broke character, you said. And he never did. Never saw Paul.
How cool.
Was that an Andy Kaufman kind of an experience where was it just wild? Like he's one of those guys who kind of ushers in like nobody's doing this. Nobody is doing this. And all of a sudden this guy comes in and changes the face of comedy because he's doing something so different.
Yeah, I think it was, we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. I mean, I didn't know who he was, really. And it was crazy. And then you had, what's his name? The director.
Tim Burton?
Yeah. And that was his first job as a movie. I mean, he did some animation stuff and he did a short story, but this was his first job.
Wow. And you're like, that dude is a kook, but he's got some.
Yeah.
He's got some funky ideas, this kid. Yeah, you know what? My jaw always drops when Bill tells stories, I went to a dinner one time with Bill, and he said, "Oh, this is Chris Carter. And he starts introducing me around the table. He's the guy who did Jaws. He's the guy who did Close Encounters. He's the guy who just every phenomenal movie that has shaped the zeitgeist of popular culture. Bill and his friends were there creating it." And it's a jaw dropper every time.
I think that the thing was through this whole process, if you really, from being a camera assistant to, let's say, now me being a director, whatever, is working with these people that I've worked with. And there are some crazy, good cameramen, directors. I mean, I did 10 movies for Ivan Reitman.
Name drop.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
I worked for Joe Pytka for 2 or 3 years. Greatest director, commercial guy ever. I did Space Jam. So, I mean, I was so lucky. I worked with all these cinematographers that are all being awarded Academy Awards. I was just in these, and like I always say to people, you don't think about it at the time, but you actually remember things that they say or they do.
I'm going to throw another one out. Toys with the lovely Robin Williams.
Oh, that's crazy. That movie.
Where was that? Where were those grassy fields out in the middle of nowhere?
The grassy fields were actually in Washington, Washington State, in the middle of nowhere. But the sets were built they were at 20th Century Fox, and they were massive sets. And it's still to this day, they're the most creative sets I've ever been around, ever.
Yeah, such a
It had
high
to be.
concept movie.
There's something, I mean, I remember sitting there and watching this, and I was the operator, and I'm just like, who comes up with this stuff? I mean, it's just like, and the guy name was Nando Scodafini was the guy, an Italian production designer. And for some reason, I used to talk to him all the time. And I said, we're looking at the toy factory. And he took Mylar across a whole wall of the stage, and then built 2, toy factory, machines. And then they went forever. It was all in camera. There was no CGI or anything.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And I was sitting there we're doing this shot, and I'm looking at the floor, and it's a black and white checkered floor. And I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and I go, something's different with this. What's going on? So he walked by, and I said, come here, because we were up on a high on the thing. I said, tell me, what did you do to this floor? And he goes, oh, you noticed. So they took I think at the time they were 12 by 12 tiles. They cut them to 9 by 9, each tile. Just stuff like, we had plaster and painted walls.
My God.
They had like 30 or 40 painters on the site because they built, I don't know if you remember it. They
Now
built
they
New
use
York.
styrofoam and plastic.
No, it was plaster. They hadn't done that in years. They had hand painted the whole city.
Thank goodness. You talk to people who were there at the time, and that you pull back the curtain a little bit. I am so thrilled, Bill, to find out that there's magic in it for you as well.
Oh, yeah. It was a great time. Now we just fix it with CGI. You had to do it then.
Yeah, now you can just put up a green screen.
Seabiscuit, working with animals. You did Beethoven. I skipped over Beethoven, and then Seabiscuit. Hot to Trot. There were some horses there. You like working with animals, Bill?
Beethoven. Oh, that's with Charles Grodin again.
Well done, Grodin.
And that's a big dog. That's a big dog
That's a
movie.
that was a huge hit. Yeah.
Martin Short was in that, or no? I think I'm conflating two movies.
He might have been
it's-
later on, but we did the original. It was a blast. We had a good time. That was a good one.
I think they did it too, ultimately.
Seabiscuit. I just did second unit for Seabiscuit.
Okay.
I did that. That was a great story. So we're sitting there and we're off shooting in Hidden Hills, and we're doing this thing, and it says, I don't know if you remember the movie where the kid dies. Remember, he drives the car and he dies. His son.
Spoiler alert.
Tobey Maguire's character?
No, it was whatchamacallit's son. And in the script, the kid dies from a car accident. He's a young boy and he steals the car and he dies.
Gotcha.
Jeff Bridges' son.
Yes.
And so in the script, it says the trees move, right, as a moment of what happens. And of course, they look at these trees, and the guy brings out a little rear fan. Going, oh, yeah, great. You're going to move these eucalyptus trees. And I turn around, and I look over, and there's a tree full of birds. And I say, come here. And so we jump in the golf cart, we take the cameras, and I go like this, here's 2 wedges. You know how we make gun noises with wedges?
Well, you slap them together, yes.
I said, slap them as soon as when I tell you to. And he goes, so I roll, and all of a sudden it goes, whack, and the whole birds go, and I didn't tell anybody I did it. And it's in the movie. It's great.
That was for the impact of the vehicle into the tree. That was the,
It was the reaction of the earth moved. Yeah.
Man, that's so
Pretty fun, huh?
badass. That's an artist. And that's the fun of filmmaking and TV making and all of that. When you have people who are imaginative and who are looking to tell a story in as many ways as possible. Also, the brilliance of you have a script that says the trees move, and now you've left with a bunch of people scratch their heads like, the fuck are we going to do? How are we going to make the trees move? We got this span, or we can tie some cables to it, or we can, how too much nowadays. You're right about that. It becomes a VFX. It becomes, and hopefully, I fear not, but probably ultimately in the future, AI will do that shit in a prompt.
Oh, yeah.
But you would miss what that is. That's fantastic. And what are those birds doing today? All dead. Okay, sorry. They're all dead. Okay. Moving
Now,
on.
Bill, you and Alan also have another connection here because you did 7 episodes of the Sarah Connor Chronicles
Oh.
with our friend Summer Glau.
Oh.
Yeah, I did the pilot with David Nutter. David Nutter is also the king of pilots. I think he's 22 for 24. Nice.
22 that got on the air out of 24
Yeah,
minutes.
pilots picked up out of not picked up. That's
He's had-
an incredible record.
I'm the
He had a
reverse.
run there where there was like 5 shows on at the same time.
Oh my God.
That's a Hollywood golden boy right there.
And I did like 3 or 4 pilots for him. And the pressure is huge of not being the guy. It doesn't work.
yeah.
When you are the first director, you're setting the look of the show for all
Yes.
all the successive directors. So it's not just an episode. It's the show. It's how the show will then be mimicked.
You create the Bible for the look of how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved on a little later on. We're skipping a couple things, but let's get to some meat of it. A huge, massive television program hit in X-Files.
Yes.
What was it like being a part of something that was such a phenomenon while you're doing it?
Well, it was, so they did the first 5 years in Vancouver.
Yes.
And then they decided to bring it back up to LA because that was all David Duchovny. He wanted to come home. He was tired of being up there. And so they brought it in there. I went in for an interview. I just became a cinematographer about a year before, and I got a call to go in and meet Chris Carter. And like I said, if you remember The Natural, it was all the owner up on top of the stadium with the thick blinds and all that stuff. So I walk in, I can't even see him. It's bright. It got the dark, and he's like looking at it. There's like 6 people sitting in a circle, and I'm sitting there, and they asked me like 5 questions. And what cameras do you use? What film do you use? And I go, and so I just told them these things, and I'm like, okay. And after about 20 minutes, half an hour, I walk out, and I'm thinking, well, in those days we didn't really have cell phones, so I didn't know anything. And then I got home and then phone rang and I got the job. And it was like, I don't know why, but it was the job of the year for everybody wanted that job.
Really?
And it changed my life, changed everybody's life that was associated with it. We still saw people recently. We had a party and a bunch of us were there. It's put it this way. We were young, thank God, because the hours that we worked, I mean, we'd start on nights, Tuesday, and we gradually go all night till Saturday mornings, and we'd have a 7:00 call Monday. We did this for 4 years, every time. And we did 22, 23 episodes, and you just learned how to sleep. You learned how to do things, and
That's rough.
but it was also the only job to this day. Nothing against Rookie, nothing against Castle.
Oh, no, it's definitely against Rookie, but go on.
It's okay.
Is that I would get in my car 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning after working 16 hours, and I would go, that was pretty freaking cool.
You guys did some phenomenal storytelling, some visual, incredible stuff on that show.
I think the only thing that really kind of sets it, that's kind of like it, would be Game of Thrones. It was Game of Thrones is phenomenal, and the look of it and the whole thing. They do such a great job. But I think X-Files started that, and it made Fox Studios. It changed the world. I had so many people come to me, cameramen, going, every time I go for an interview, they make me sit and watch the X-Files. They want to do that. They want to do that. They want to do that.
It was a game changer, you're saying.
Yeah, it was. It changed a lot.
And having it on your resume, would you say that was a bit of a golden ticket?
Pretty much.
Hey.
See what I did there? I brought that back to the
It was nicely done.
Well, thank you, Willy Wonka thing. And then after that, there was a couple projects in between, but after that, you came to a little show called Castle.
Castle Chats.
And I met somebody there.
Tell me what you remember about first meeting Nathan Fillion.
Well, we came in and Rob Bowman was the director. And I've known Rob, obviously a long time because he was the X-File guy, one of the original guys. And then so I don't remember actually the moment that you and I kind of talked. I wish I could, but I don't, it was because we did 13 episodes. And then
The first season, yes. We were mid-season replacement.
Yeah, so we were mid-season, and then we shut down for a year. We didn't know if we were going to get picked up, and we got picked up and all that stuff, and it just kind of rolled onto it.
That was around the writer's strike and the recession. There was a lot of crazy things going on, and it was very much up in the air as to what was going to happen next for everybody in the industry. But we lucked out.
It wasn't even a full pilot. It was a
full pilot, but it wasn't a full season. We were a mid-season replacement. But
a full pilot?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't a full pilot.
No, you shot a lot of it, but you were complaining about that they paid. It's like when you do those half-ass pilots, what everybody does is you try to shoot as much as possible so you can tell the story that you need to tell, because they'll judge you on what you do. Even though they know it's not a full pilot, you get judged on it.
Yeah, I remember that because we came in because when they got picked up, we shot for another like 8 days for the pilot.
To finish the pilot.
To finish it.
But we shot the pilot in New York.
But it wasn't a full, he's talking about it. It was a treatment. It was
a show pilot, or they call it something. They call
At this point, you guys know more than I know. And that was weird because I was there.
They call it a tease. It's a little tease.
I think they changed the character too.
Seamus Dever came in after. There was a different fella for that character.
Ving Rhames.
And yes, we reshot some of his stuff for sure. Now, I will say this.
Burt Reynolds.
I remember, Bill, you were a force to be reckoned with. I remember, I don't remember the day we met, but I remember your crew was like, oh my God, Bill's coming. Like, everybody, just sit up straight. Like, make sure, pick up that cable. But why is that? Clean this whole thing up. When you would come to set, their stress levels would go, and then you get there, like, Bill, good morning, sir. How are you? I'm like, who is this guy? Why are you guys so scared of this guy? Everything changes when he comes in the room. Who is this guy, Bill? But it wasn't like he was a tyrant or anything.
Well,
but I'll say this: Bill had the look. You know when your dad's had enough and he gives you the look. It's like, everybody, we crossed the line. It's over. Like, okay, sorry, Bill. Sorry. And I'll also say this, Bill. I've never seen you lose the program. I've never seen you get excited, about like get upset about anything. I've never seen you raise your voice. I've never seen you do anything but go, come on. Like that's as bad as it's ever been. Is you go, come on, guys. That's what they feared. I don't know why. But season 2, you said, this director of photography thing is great. And it was great. Castle had a great look. But you said, I'm going to start directing. And it was season 2 of Castle was the very first time you directed.
Yeah, so it wasn't like something I wanted to do, to be honest with you. Rob came up to me, Bowman came up, and he says, hey, we want you to direct one. And I went, well, I guess I should try it at least once to see if I like it or not. And we hit it out of the ballpark for that Indiana Jones one. It was a blast, Mummy or whatever.
It was a Mummy episode of The Rookie, kind of Indiana Jones theme. It's where we first met of Castle. It was where we first met Curry Graham, who wound up coming to The Rookie the first couple of seasons of as well. He's a friend of mine now. I'm so glad I met him through that show. He was incredibly funny. He's so good on Reacher. He's a lovely, talented actor. But Bill, you clearly you've made your way through a lot of different jobs in the entertainment industry, a lot of on the visual side especially, but you clearly have an affinity for directing. This is, I think, where you rightfully belong. Am I wrong?
I feel very comfortable doing it. I do. I mean, and because I think a lot of it is I have control of pretty much everything then. You know what I mean? I mean, I have control of the look. I have the control how we're going to shoot it, how we're going to do things. And to be honest with you, it's awfully nice having a cast that is up for anything. And there's never a problem with any of you guys. And it's like, hey, want to try this? Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it makes it so much more enjoyable for everybody.
It's fun having a director that does that as well.
Exactly, Alan. Thank you. Let's talk about that, because if you don't trust the director, if the director's doing stuff, you go, why are we getting this? We're never going to use this shot. Like you just everything starts to, your confidence is shaken at that point. But Bill, you will come to us and say, well, we're going to do like this and like this, but face this way, because if we do this, then we turn the camera on. I don't have to shift everything around. I can take this, I can do this, I get both shots at the same time. And you're like, what? You just saved us 4 hours. Like you have, first of all, you can do the math of it very quickly and easily in your head, stuff that's clearly beyond me. But at the same time, you're extremely visually creative. And I'm always so very, very pleased with the stuff that you come up with. You're quite clever. I don't mean to sound surprised.
I think the bringing up of how I was raised and coming up to the business is a huge factor of all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, remember, you're working with your cameraman and you think of, you're not learning anything, but then all of a sudden you go, wow, when that guy did that worked great. This is going to work great here, or whatever it is. I mean, I've been very lucky to work with all these great cameramen and directors, and it wore off. It wore off.
And then you may have worked with maybe a couple of bad directors too, that when they set up a thing, you're like,
well, that's the one thing too, is you learn from the bad guys more than you do from the good guys sometimes.
Yeah, like this is and you see the way to make it right. Yeah.
And then from Castle, we moved on to The Rookie, and now you are you actually took off. You went to New York for a little bit. You worked on the Blacklist for a great long time. They loved you over there.
I did Blacklist for about 4 years. Yeah, I really enjoyed it there. Those guys were really great.
Yeah, like
Spader's a trip.
Is that fun?
Oh, he's a great guy. I like him a lot. Yeah. He's a real professional.
He's so good at his job. Oh, I would love to. I think I would both love and fear working with him.
I think that's probably right. I think that's how people are. When he walks on the set, it's like I used to go to him, I go, it's good to be king, isn't it? He goes, yes, it is.
Yeah, he's got intensity. He's always had that, though, for so long.
He's very competitive. I don't want to... when you give him a challenge, and when you say, well, maybe you can't do that. And he just kind of looks at you and goes, what?
That's a good trick.
Then you'd already directed a couple of Rookie episodes for us before you went and did Blacklist. But then Alexi called you and said, we'd like you to come back and be our supervising director. What's the difference between a director and a supervising director for their listeners?
Well, I mean, you're more involved with production. When you're a director, you're just basically a hired gun to come in and do the best you can with the script you have. and you just try to make it as better. You try to make the episode better than the script. I mean, that's your whole point of, I think, trying to come up visually and how to make it better. And you're just like, you're a hired gun, and you just kind of come and go. I mean, these guys, sometimes they do 5 or 6, 7 different episodes of different shows all year. When you're hired as the executive producer, and you're part of the show, and you can plan a little bit. You can talk to people, and when the directors come in, which I try to do, because I've been in situations where you just show up, you don't know anybody, and you try to make them comfortable, tell them what. And listen, Nathan, we know sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes they listen to you and sometimes they don't listen to you, and it's like, it's sad, because it's like you're giving this person an opportunity to shine, and they don't want to. They're there for their own agenda or whatever. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy going through the process of prepping. I really like it, coming up with ideas and in different locations, and this is going to work better than that one. And you're there to help. You're helping the show, basically.
So like
you're
the
helping
prepping is the prepping is the moment where you're going, all right, the script says the trees move. How are we going to do that? What trees are we going to use? Where are we going to do that? That's the prepping. What all is prepping is everything. Prepping is where it's going to be. And this is done with the director.
All the directors. And I go with the directors most of the time, and we talk about things. And it's not just me. I mean, there's production designers, Al, and Marco Black, and all these people. We're all there to make the show. And I think we're in pretty good hands with everybody.
Would you say that part of your job is trying to maintain some consistency across the series when we have, like you said, there's hired guns coming in all the time, and your job is to keep them on the path of, this is how the rookie looks, this is how the rookie feels, this is the pace, is that part of your?
Yeah, I think that's one thing unique about our show, is that we have so many ways to shoot a scene, whether it's body cams, surveillance cams, pod cars. I mean, there's so much. And so you try to keep them on track of this. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, but that's going to take so long. No, trust me, it's going to take about 3 minutes. we do shots and body cams. I'm just things, and the cast knows what they have to do. And it really, it's hard having a director sometimes that doesn't it. That's why we like to have a couple of them back, because then they get in a rhythm. They know what they're going to do.
I love how much credit you give to the cast. I think I completely agree with you. We've had such an incredible time with our cast on The Rookie. Guest cast included. Alan, I'm looking at you.
Oh, I was on it. Yeah.
Yeah, a number of times. But I mean, certainly it took us a minute to find our feet as far as getting into our groove. But everyone on that cast is such a pro. There's nobody who hits that set who says, "Ooh, this is beyond my capability," or "I'm not really ready for this challenge." You're absolutely right. This is an incredibly capable cast.
Yeah, it's like I've said. I've done a lot of shows, and it's never been like this ever. I hate to say it. I mean, it's never been where you have this many cast members. And we have a lot, right? And it's that they're all in, and it's what's nice. I remember the first time I came on this, I was doing my first episode, and we were doing one of the roll call rooms, and everybody's in there and they're all laughing, having a great time. And I'm watching this, and the assistant director goes, "I got to stop." And I grab them by the back of the shirt and brought them back. I go, you should enjoy this. This is my first episode. I said, you need to enjoy this, because this doesn't happen. This does not happen.
And then he called HR.
And you can tell they all love each other. They all have a good time. It's great. So I said, give it 5 minutes. Who cares?
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
you heard it here first. The cast of The Rookie, better cast than X-Files, the original X-Files. That's amazing. That's good to know. And you got that here on Once We Were Spacemen.
Bill, if I had to make a list of my favorite directors that I love working with, you're the top. You are number one. It's always, this is a Bill episode. It must be an extremely challenging episode that we're going to make in plenty of time. Like, we're going to have a great time doing it. It's going to be fast. There's not going to be any wasted shots. I can trust you, I know. And you do bring so much of your wisdom, your knowledge base, your experience, what you're talking about, all those relationships you nurtured over the years through all your jobs, everything you gleaned, it's all come to this project with you, and the rest of us get to to benefit.
We all benefit. We all having a great time. And that's why, when I said that speech for my birthday, it's like, you guys got to really, the whole crew needs to step back and say, this is great. You will remember this the rest of your lives, this show. There's something about it.
I would say if someone had said to me, my first season of Castle, and pointed you out in the crowd and said, you and that guy are going to be like great buddies. I said, really?
Because I hate that guy. No.
I think I said the same thing too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Ugh, another
I got
actor.
a lot of those looks from Bill that I mentioned earlier. I got a lot of those looks from Bill. I taught Bill, somebody showed me, said, Nathan, this is the most dismissive hand gesture in the world. And he turned to walk away and kind of just waved me off, but down below his waist. Like he couldn't be bothered to wave me off above his shoulder. This kind of below the waist, kind of little, this kind of like you're swimming away a little bit, just a little. I taught that to Bill more than a decade ago. He uses it on me all the time.
That's a good gesture.
And now the cast uses it too. They think you invented it because you use it so much.
So it's hand away from your body, right about shoulder length.
No, down by the waist. You're just like, it's like as you turn away, you just wave them off, like one wave. You're done.
Below the...
Yeah, Melissa calls it old man hand.
Oh.
Bill, if there's someone out here listening, we had Alexi Hawley as a guest one time, and it was kind of fascinating from his perspective, seeing behind the curtain. If there's someone out there listening right now who said, this is my journey, I want to be on this path, what wisdom, advice, what would you give them to say, here's some words to live by? This is something general that has never failed me.
Well, I think, it's kind of like the same old thing is just don't give up. I mean, there's so many ways to do this. And now, by the way, the avenues of success or paths you can take are enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, when I grew up, it was really, you went to movies or you went to TV. That's it. Now you have all this stuff.
There was 3 networks and there was 3 movie companies and that was it.
Yeah. And now the world can see your stuff on a little computer. I mean, it's just don't give up, and that's what I would say. Is just don't give up because if that's your dream.
Yeah.
Now, Bill, we have a little segment of our show called Let's Get to Know You Better.
I know you and you know me. Let's get to know you better.
We want you to tell us something that we don't know about you. It could be anything. Alan, why don't you start, Alan, just to give us a little leg up.
Okay, I didn't
You're not prepared? I'll start. Do you want me to start?
Okay, yeah, go for
Okay.
it. Go for it.
All right. My brother, as you know, is a wonderful man. He and I are very tight. We're very close. He has a little bit of what you might call the imp of the perverse. That little thing inside, that little demon inside says, what if I pushed him? Like that thing that maybe you shouldn't do occurs to my brother. And at the same time, he has that Schadenfreude where he kind of laughs at other people's misfortune. So he will cause misfortune and then laugh at your misfortune. The example I'm thinking of was he and I, as children, were playing hacky sack. Remember when hacky sack was a thing in the 80s? And we were outside the garage. There was garage lights kind of shining down on us. But if you kicked the hacky sack up high, it would go into the darkness and then come down and you suddenly see it and go, oh, there it is. And then you kind of kick it. And he would keep kicking it over the fence. And I would have to go get it down to the neighbor's house and then come back and we keep playing. And then he kicked it over the fence. I said, you go get it. So he goes the other side. He goes, are you ready? I said, yeah. And kind of throws the hacky sack over. I'm looking in the darkness. And as it comes into the light, I go, there it is. And I go, whack. And I kick it just at the last second. But he hadn't thrown the hacky sack. He threw a rock. And I kicked that thing. And it was in my late 40s. I had to finally get like a bone chip removed off the top of my foot that I'd been suffering with for decades. I was like, I don't know where and the doctor's saying, well, it's probably when you hit something or you probably did something. I said, I don't know where I got it. And I'm literally on the operating table where they're putting me under. You're in that kind of twilight thing. And I had the flashing memory of my brother throwing that rock over the fence. And I went, it was my brother, Jeffrey. And that was the last thing I remembered before I went out, was remembering how I got the bone chip on my right foot. Wow. And now you know me better.
Now I know you better. God, I feel closer.
Thank you.
I feel closer to you knowing that.
Bill, do you feel ready? Do you want Alan to go? Do you want him to warm you up? We'll take something from growing up. You have brothers?
All I can say is that people probably don't know is I'm really competitive.
Oh, really?
In what way?
Wait a second. That goes against your whole, I'm just going to sit here and wait for someone to open a door for me.
I don't like to lose.
Oh, wow.
Are we talking about sports? I know you like the
sports.
golf.
Yeah, sports, golf. I play golf for money. I'm super competitive when it comes like that. I'm not a nasty guy. I compete against myself more than other people.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That kind of thing. And I think it rolls over to work too, where, I don't know if you see me, I'll stop whatever we're doing and I'll say, you got to change this. This isn't right. You got to make it right.
That's true. That's true.
And so I think I have this thing of I want to do it right all the time. And competitive, I feel that's kind of competitive, but I just don't let it go. I can't. I don't have that in my DNA to go, oh, it's okay, we'll let it go this time. I can't do that.
In my experience, if that's competitive, like in your job, then and when I see you achieve greatness, I would consider you a good winner. Are you a poor loser?
Used to be.
Oh, okay. Didn't know.
Little league
Bill.
and all that stuff. Oh, I was
yeah?
I was not good when
Throw
I was
your
a
glove
kid.
down.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Kick
okay.
the helmets, throw the bats, all that stuff. Mhm.
Sit down, Ro. We're benching you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's fantastic. I did not know about
That's
that.
great. That's
Yeah,
great. I like the visual of you throwing the bats.
All right, Alan. We have a bit of a childhood theme going here. Do you have any? Do you have anything? I don't want to jam you into a category, but
A childhood theme.
Has he ever grown up?
Okay, yeah.
sibling rivalries.
This is dangerous. I gotta be careful how I tell this story. There was a thing when I was young. Let's just say, and your mom's gonna hate this. So's your dad if he listens. When I was in school in the 14, 15 year, 16 year troubled years, it was trouble. Okay. I came from a very white suburban, shocking to most everyone, very white suburban Texas upbringing, public school. And I accidentally started tagging the school with the gang sign that was a gang that was just made up. Accidentally. Okay, let's just say. I was almost in trouble. I got pulled out of class. People knew. I'd gone to my locker one day. So that I'm not going to say the name. I'll say it. Stubbs. It doesn't even make any sense. Stubbs. It didn't make any sense. It was nothing. It was nothing. It was about nothing. Started writing it on like a piece of paper. Started writing it on our folders. Started writing it in my locker. Started writing it on, because I was an asshole, on index cards, stubs, and flipping them into people's lockers. So to where everybody in the school is like, what the hell is this? We hate this. I was turning posters that said, elect me for student council. I'd flip the poster, put the tape on the other side, and turn it into a Stubbs poster. There was a locker that didn't lock. I opened it up. It was full of books, and I just wrote Stubbs all in it, left it open. That was the problem right there. Because whose locker that was a girl who was friends with all of what we thought of in those days as the stoners. They were the freaks, that was their title in my school. Somebody stole all the books out of that locker. Now, all of those guys who were the big, dangerous people, you did not want to mess with these guys. They were going to owe money at the end of the year for those books. And they wanted to know who Stubbs was.
They connected you to the crime. They connected the Stubbs guy to the crime.
And they grabbed, let's say his name was Chip Ruckle. I don't know if that's his name. Fucking Chip Ruckle. Dropped a dime on me. Anyway, I walked out of my last class in the 10th grade, and I got a hand grabbed me by the shirt and pulled me. It was like, you stay here. You're a stub. And it's one of these big guys. He goes, I'm like, I don't know. What are you talking about? I'm not. He's like, bullshit. You owe us money. It was the last day of school. The bill was due. And I said, let me just get my bag. It's back in the room. I didn't know I was leaving school yet. Let me just go get my bag. That room was my speech drama class. I walked in. I was friends with the teacher. And I said, lock the door behind me. Don't let anybody follow me. And I heard this guy try to come in after me. And she's like, nope, school's closed for the summer. And she locked the door. I went through the theater, out the loading dock, and ran to a grocery store. I was picked up by my brother, and I got away. On my last day of school, 10th grade. I was on the Lam. I had like a gang looking for us. And I mean, getting to the grocery store was hard because you'd hear glug, 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 and these guys had, big supercars and like, oh, Jesus.
So you created a gang, and then there was a crime committed. Like you
In the name of my fake
you
gang.
imagined a gang, and then the gang was actually created, and then you were responsible for their crimes, Alan.
And then I had to run. I had to lam it. And I grabbed somebody on my way to the grocery store. I was like, hey, do you know my brother? You know who I am, right? You know my brother? Tell him to come pick me up at the Albertsons. Make my way as fast as I could to the Albertsons where we got away.
God, you got away with it. It's a happy ending.
God, I was such a pain in the ass kid.
Did you learn your lesson, Alan?
I didn't do any more fake gangs, that's for sure.
That's true. All right, good.
The lesson I learned there was don't admit to your crimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I got pulled into the principal's office or the vice principal, and he said, "We know it's you," because somebody had. I got to my locker one day, and somebody goes, "Hey, the vice principal was in there today." I was like, "What?" And it had Stubbs written all over it, and it was all over my books. And then I got a note. I got a note that day saying, "Come see the vice principal." And I went to the vice principal's office, and he said, "Alan, we know you're a stub." I'm like, "Yeah, what is that?" And he goes, "We know you are." I am what? A stub? No, not me. I think it's the freaks. Yeah, I was pinning on. Because I was
This
a
sounds like
skater.
an episode of television, really, right?
Yeah. So, it wasn't until he said, "We're going to have to tell your dad, and you're going to have to come over here on a weekend, and you're going to have to pay for the paint to paint over all the doors and all the walls that have stubs on them." And that's when I was like, I am not telling my dad. And I said, "I wish I could help you, but I don't know who it is."
You are ballsy.
And he let me go back to, I said, "And you know what? I'm upset. I hope you find out who it is, because if you could see my locker, they broke into my locker and wrote stubs all over it. And they wrote it on all of my folders and all of my books."
In my handwriting, with
Wow.
my pen.
In my handwriting. I was a little criminal, man.
Bill,
But like a dumb criminal.
Bill, you called me just the other day to say, "Hey, man, we need to talk. What am I gonna? What is this all about? This podcast? What do I got to do? Do I got to prepare anything? What do I got to do? This your first podcast, Bill? Your first
Correct.
interview? This your
This
first
is my
interview
first.
ever? Uh-huh.
Score! What?
First of many, Bill. I find
You could be
fascinating.
you could be like in the you could do like interviews in Rolling Stone and stuff.
This is fascinating stuff. How was your experience, Bill? How did it go?
It was great, actually. It was. I enjoyed it. I had fun. And you guys make it very comfortable, obviously. And my brother yesterday said, "Why don't you print out your resume on IMDb so at least you understand the timelines of some of this stuff?"
Oh, that's a good
And
idea.
it was actually very helpful because looking at movies, the timeline of when I did stuff, because you don't really remember. And then
Because you've had such a long career, man.
Yeah, they start to blend.
did a lot, and it's. But I had a blast. I really did. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't know why you sound
Thank you.
so surprised, but I say thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill Rowe.
Thank you, Bill Rowe, for coming and doing this
Thanks,
for us,
Alan.
man.
Thanks, Nathan. I really enjoyed it. I hope this works out for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Play us out, Sosa. Thank you for listening to Once We Were Spacemen. If you haven't yet, head over to our Patreon to get bonus content, longer episodes, and the chance to take home some incredible crap. The most amazing crap. The kind that does not smell. And if you love this show, please leave us a review. And tell your friends. Once We Were Spacemen is a Collision 33 production, whatever the hell that is. The show is produced by Michelle Chapman, Siobhan Holman, and Josh Levy of Collision 33. There that is again. I'm sick of it. Production services are done by Rabbit Grin Productions. Why is the rabbit grinning? I don't like it. Our theme music is from the minds of Carlos Sosa and Joshua Moore, and the playing of Fernie and also Rallo. And the artwork is created by Louis Jensen. Until next time. I've been on a few sets, but I'm always distracted.